Okay, it is 5 o'clock, and so I'm just gonna start. Okay, so welcome to the Algorithmic Trading Club. Okay, so last quarter we went over some Python stuff, and now we're gonna apply. Oh, okay. So last quarter what we did was toward the end of the quarter, we went over some Python stuff, but now we're going to apply this Python to develop some algorithms in QuantConnect. So what is QuantConnect? It is a platform for developing training algorithms. So it can support like backtesting. You can like test your algorithms on historical data, like replay on historical data to see how to do in the past. And also it supports live trading. So there's like different API integrations with like interactive brokers, traders, and etc. Some cool things about it is that it is based in Seattle, and the office is actually in Pike's Place. If you guys know where that is, it's basically like a popular tourist place near downtown Seattle, and like it's literally right next to it. Like so, yeah, I've actually been to the office. It's pretty cool. I think they have an office. They have an office tour video. You can probably Google Quant Connect office tour video or something like that. And so some trivia about Quant Connect, using a grant from Chilean government for like startups and stuff like that. Jared brought founded Quant Connect, and he was in Chile for some humanitarian work. I think it was for some humanitarian. I can't remember what it was called, but and he was actually 2 years ago. He was a guest speaker for. We invited him to do guest speaker event, and because we are returning to in person, well, tentatively return to in person on the 10th. We might be able to get him as a like if we can work it out, and if COVID isn't too crazy, we might be able to get him as a guest speaker again this year, which would be pretty cool. And so, as an update, if school reopens, we will be having in-person meetings in the hub, Hub 337, at 5 to 6 p.m. on Mondays. Actually, I'll have that. I'll add that later. But just know it's I forgot to include money, but okay. So, um, hope you guys know Python. Like, if I try to go through Python again, we went through Python a few times. Like, there's some videos on the Algorithmic Trading Club YouTube channel. All you have to do is just type in ATC space UW, or you can just like one of that email I sent out earlier in the Google Doc. It also contains a link to the YouTube video where you can go to the ATC UW social media. Yeah, there's a bunch of ways to get to the YouTube channel, and so just try to find like some like later Python videos and just watch them to get some basic understanding of Python. If we try to go over Python again like every quarter, we're not gonna have time for like we'll we'll just be spending the whole quarter learning and it'll be like that every quarter, and so we won't be able to do anything cool. And so I'm just gonna we're just get like hopefully you learned Python in a past quarter, and if you didn't, please watch the videos. And so, but we're gonna have to keep on going, and so we're gonna go over some content today. Okay, so I'm at quantconnect.com. It is free. Everything's free. Like, costs money if you want to like upgrade your account and get some like live trading. Say you want to like connect your account to interactive brokers and deploy an algorithm to the cloud. You can do that, but everyone can create an algorithmic. We can actually we have two nodes for live trading because well, we have pretty good we're pretty connected with them. So we have like a school account, well, specifically the CFRM account where I have two accounts. So if we do something cool, we can definitely like deploy a live account if you guys want. Okay, so so this is well, actually, let's just show you how to get there. So let's just go to the main page. So you go to the lab, then you go to open project. Well, like or create. Well, you probably create a new algorithm, but I already have one. So I'm just gonna delete this one because I'm just gonna open a one that I made earlier today. well, okay, so ATC. Okay, so this this first three, they're not too interesting. Like just the start date of like, so right now we are going to create like a backtest for the algorithm, and so this is like the start date of when we want to start like the backtest simulation. We're gonna start it on 2021 October 1st, okay, and then if we can set that end date to like, we can set it to like December 1st. But if you just leave it off, what it'll do, it'll just set this end date to like today. Like it'll just keep going until there's no more data left. Um, we just set cash. We like put $10,000 in account, and so now what we want to do is subscribe to Apple stock data. So let's just do and then we want to, so let's just do that for now. So add equity, and then let's put AAPL, and then we want to put the resolution of the. So do we want like a point of data every minute, or do we want and then aggregate the open, high, low, close, or do we want to aggregate the open, high, low, close of the daily data? And the data points will be slightly different. Like the lower the resolution, I mean, the more granular the resolution, like minute versus day, the minute will have more data points because there's a bunch of minutes in a day, right? But in a day there, so for now let's just do resolution.daily. So we want daily bars. So we have a day worth of like time series data, and then we get out the open, high, low, close of that day. And so I'm gonna give you guys like a someone had a question. Okay, never mind, it wasn't a question. Okay, so why do we okay, so we subscribe to Apple data. So like why do we subscribe to certain stocks or certain assets at the beginning, like right here? Like why don't we just like so let's just say we didn't have this, and like why don't we just like say like some function like self dot, let's just like AAPL price equals like data dot get. Well, this isn't really accurate, but let's just assume like data get AAPL data. Let's just create some like fake function like pseudo. How come we don't just get like maybe like self dot, or actually yeah, okay, something like that. Well, this isn't very accurate, but or why do we so the question is like why do we subscribe to certain symbols at the beginning? Why do we specifically specify AAPL instead of getting it on demand, like whatever we want? Like why do we pre-specify the what stocks we want? I'm gonna get, does anyone have idea? Okay, so let's say we subscribe to all the symbols at once, like every symbol in existence. Like how much that would be a lot of data, right? And so like that'd be way too much data. Like that's all that data that we don't even want. And so by subscribing to certain symbols at the beginning, what we can do is we can narrow down the data that we narrow down to the only the data that we want. So like, because if we got data for every stock in existence every day, it is possible, but it would just slow the program down really slow. It's slow down. So it's slowed down the algorithm a lot. So the answer is to this question is that while it's not absolutely necessary, well, it is necessary here, but like theoretically, it's not necessary to subscribe to like specify which symbols we want to subscribe to at the beginning, but practically, it's like basically necessary so that we don't get so that our program doesn't get bogged down with a lot of data. Okay, so let's just do some basic code. Okay, so self dot. So we can see that here that we have a QC algorithm here. We inherit the QC algorithm. And that means we have like access to like certain things. So one thing is one thing is self.portfolio.invested. And let's just okay. So is a field that we hold. Okay, so our first, oops. So let's start by checking if we have any. So for now, let's just try buying one share of Apple. So self dot, if not, and so we want to make. So let's just see what this mark. So we can see here this API. We want the symbol, quantity, and then actually, it's not too helpful. These other three things aren't very useful. So let's just put symbol and then quantity. And so what this does is it makes us buy it if we don't own any Apple shares, if we don't own any like stocks at all or anything, we buy one share of Apple. Okay. Can anyone? So what happens if we didn't have this if statement check? Do you guys know what would happen? Oh, actually, let me go over what on data is. Okay, so on data, what it does, on data gets called whenever we get a new point of data. The data field contains the new data, and we can go over this thing right here. And okay, so can someone? So what happens if we don't have this in front? Like, what happens if we just let me just get the code like that. Okay, so what happens if it's like this? Can someone tell me what in the chat what would happen? Okay, so the question was like, so we have this code right now, right? Like, okay, so we know that the self.portfolio.invested is a field that determines whether or not have new holdings, or whether like holdings as in like stocks, bonds, or whatever. And so why do we have this if statement at the front before we do one market order? Why don't we just do that? Why don't we just have like, why do we keep this if statement out front? Like, what happens if we did this? Our objective is just to buy and hold one share of Apple. Okay, this is kind of, yeah, that's correct. Kobe, yeah, you got it right. That because if we had it like this, what would happen is every time we got a, because like I wrote up here, like on data gets called whenever we get a new point of data, and so every time we get a new point of data, we send another market order for another share of Apple, right? And so then we just keep buying. They would just keep buying Apple shares, and like we'll eventually just run out of money, or even like go into margin or whatever. So doing what this does is once we buy share Apple, then our portfolio will be invested in something, and then we will stop buying shares of Apple. So we would just buy one share of Apple and keep it. Okay. Now let's go over adding in. Okay, so actually let's just run this just to confirm our okay, while that's running, let's go over some simple moving average stuff. So this is a technical indicator, and it is basically something. Whether technical indicators work or not is up for debate. Is a debate that I'm not going to go into today. But what we do is we take the end period is the average of the past endpoints of price data. Okay, so say we have a stock price that goes like one day it's 101, then it's one day 101, 100, 100, then it's 101, then 102, and 130. Can someone fill out? Okay, can you guys like take like about like 20 seconds to like calculate what the 3-period simple moving average is? Oh, yeah. It's just okay. Do you guys have your answers? Can you guys like type out like these numbers? Just in chat. Okay. Yeah, Kobe. The the. I mean, I guess it depends on how you see it. Um. Well, like the last two numbers are definitely right. The first two, kind of really depends. Okay, so that's very good. So the first two would actually. It's kind of it's kind of tricky. The first two are actually not a number because there's enough numbers for a 3-period SMA. So NAN, like not a number, that's the acronym. But no no. But I really like the answer 101. I mean like it's basically. I mean, this was sort of a trick question. Well, the last two numbers were not really tricky, but the first two were kind of tricky. Gosh, I mean, this is what you get if you ran this calculations using a pandas, which is like Python library. And so you can see the calculation here. Like on the third day on the stock prices, it'd be like the past 3 days. You add them and you average them. Then you go here, then you add them up and average them. And you can see that with longer SMAs, like each point matters less. Thus, if you have like a large swing, in your most recent data point, but you have a really long period SMA, because it's all averaged out, short-term swings are less, are, have less effect on the SMA value. And we can see that sort of here. We can see here that the short SMA is a lot more responsive. You can see it. I mean, the blue line's SMA 50, the red line's SMA 20. You can see how this, like when this black stock price moves, this blue line responds quickly, while this red line doesn't really respond at all. Sort of responds with like there's a deep downtrend, but you can see that this blue line is way more responds way faster, and you can see here, like there's a downtrend and there's like nothing happening really like between the SMA line. Well, actually, it crosses down and then so it sort of goes into downtrend. But then when the stock price is an uptrend, this short moving SMA, because it responds to the uptrend, it goes up, while this red 200 longer period SMA doesn't really move. And you can see here, like when the short period SMA crosses long period SMA, there's like a quote unquote reverse momentum, like there's a positive momentum, right? Well, whether that's true or not, I'm not going to debate today. But um, in theory, I mean, like like there's just this general vibe among traders. So let's just say in trader theory. Oh shoot! What I just. Okay, so yeah, in theory, when you have like a short, when like the shorter period SMA crosses above the longer SMA, then you sort of have like a okay. And let's try coding this in quant connect. Oops. that's my English class. Okay, let's just see the orders. Okay, so earlier we were talking about like how if we left out if not self-up portfolio invested stuff, we just keep buying on shares, and that's what it exactly is. Okay, so let's just add that back. Okay, so how do we add a simple moving average indicator? So let's do self.sma 50 equals self.sma. So how do I know all this? Well, at first I didn't know, like, how do I know all these functions and whatnot and all these this. Well, in the past I did not know them. So what I did was I like read through the tutorial, the QuantConnect API tutorials and guides, and Googled something whenever I didn't know that. But now I know it by head. I mean, by memory. Okay, so let's create a simple moving average for the Apple indicator, a 50-day. And so what we do is specify. So the first argument is which ticker we want it for, and we subscribe to it. And we're doing everything with AAPL, which is Apple stock. Then we want a 50-day, and then we want to match the resolution of our data, resolution.data. And so why do we need why do we need to respecify the resolution when we already had a daily resolution? Why do we specify for the indicators? What happens if we have minute? Well, the thing is, what happens if we have minute resolution for Apple, but then daily resolution for the indicators, right? And so that's sort of why. Okay, and then self.SMA 200 equals self.SMA, same thing, AAPL. Actually, let's do something. Let me go through one more thing before we go this. Okay, so this market order. Okay, so this buys one share. Okay, buys one share. Let's do something else. Let's do set holdings. Buys shares as a. Okay, so self.set holding. So this is another way to buy shares. APL, and let's set 100 one as in like one as a fraction, as in like the whole thing. Like, so say we had like say Apple shares were like $500, and we had $1,000 in the account. If we set holdings to 1, that means we put one whole or 100% of our portfolio into Apple shares. And since they're $500 each, we'd buy 2 shares. And so this is what set holdings would do. If we put set holdings at 0.5, half, we just buy 1 share because $500 is half of $1,000. And so actually, let's just, okay, so that's what set holding does. It's a way to do market order, but instead of specifying the quantity, we specify what percentage of our portfolio we want to put into this asset. Okay, hopefully. If you guys have any questions, this might be a little confusing. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to speak up or put some in the chat. Okay, so now let's add. Okay, so let's go back to the SMA logic. Okay, so instead of whether, okay, let's just delete this. Maybe, yeah, I'll keep this. You guys, okay. So to get the value of the SMA, we do so like and something we'd actually want to do is let's go back to here. You can see here that like with the first like here, if we had if we got the 3-period SMA value here, it wouldn't be complete. Like we only have 1 point of data. So same here. We'd want to wait until like we get like a few points of data before we actually use the SMA. And to make sure that we actually do that, so we can do if self.SMA 200 is ready, then we can execute this logic. And is ready basically. Oops. is ready just determines whether or not we have like enough. We have n periods of data for like our n period SMA. Like here, our SMA indicator would be is ready would be true. Okay. Um. So you notice that we do SMA 200 is ready, but what about SMA 50? Well, because the 200 requires more points of data. If the 200 points data SMA is ready, then by default the 50 point data SMA will be ready. Okay. Okay. So let's also let's just copy this. Okay, I'm gonna have you guys like so let's say we want to long 100% if momentum is positive, else short 100%. And so can someone give me some like okay, so let's go back to this and okay. So can someone look at this graph and then try to like give me some like pseudocode or even like the real code? Like just think about it for a few seconds. Like what would be the pseudocode logic to go long if momentum is positive or short? And just remember, so this is the short period SMA and this is the long period SMA. And let's just not necessarily like have a cross. Like I mean, like exact point cross. Like maybe just like the relative positions of this.
Yeah. So do we like there are some ways to do that. I mean, if we look at the like the first thing, we don't do this on cross because sometimes it just touches the thing and goes to other place. And if we don't do this on cross, we do it, let's say, when the short-term SMA is higher than the long-term SMA. And in this case, we also need to define how to say, like, we also need to define the amount of this higher, like if because it sometimes can be the false like false shot, like it can go a little bit higher than the long-term SMA and then go down. So we we just write that if the short-term SMA is higher than long-term SMA, we do long the thing. But at the same time, we also need to write, let's say, the domain in a way, just to say that, okay, if it's higher, if let's say, if it's just higher. And the problem here is how to write it in code when it's higher, for example, when the difference between the price at the point and of I don't know how to do it. I mean, I know that if it's higher, then it's long. When it's shorter, is short.
Yeah, that's great. So right now we're sort of in fantasy land. We're not like obviously this isn't going to be like very consistent or profitable. We're just like I mean, if it was this easy to like just like go long if like some basic parameter, go short, make money, it'd be way too easy, and then it'd be arbitrary. So, but we're sort of in like a fantasy land because we're still learning, right?
Yeah. As I said, is exactly the thing that it can be a false thing, and it can go down. Just
So yeah, we're just in this right now. We're just gonna work in this fantasy land where everything like we say something and it sort of makes sense, then we just take it for face value. Like obviously that it's more complicated than that, but we're just learning for now. So like if we try to do some weird complicated stuff at the beginning and try to make something profitable at the beginning, then you guys would have no idea what we're doing because the code is way too complicated. Okay, so let's just as Nick said, if the short-term SMA, which is this 50 SMA, and we just got the value out here, is greater than the 200 SMA, then we go long. So go long. So does anyone know what line of code to write to go long? I went over it like 10 seconds, like a minute ago. Okay, I went over it pretty quickly, so I won't distress you guys for a while. Okay, so to go long, we do self.set holdings, AAPL, AAPL, and then we do one. Okay, so else, then otherwise, the SMA would be lower or equal to, but it's rarely equal to because we use decimal places. So. Okay, so does anyone have idea what I put here? How do we get a short? Or how do we like
0?
Close. Go a little more down.
-1?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, to go 0 would mean, so 0 is a guess. It would mean we sell, but doesn't mean. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I haven't gone over what long and short means. Okay, so long means to buy shares, basically, and you're hoping the stock will go up. Short means to sell shares that you might not even own, and you borrow shares and sell it so that when it goes down, you can buy it back at a cheaper price, and then you make profit. Okay, so you know how like buying, if you go long, you buy and you profit if it goes up. If you short, go opposite direction, so you go profit if it goes down. Okay, we could put 0 too, but we just try both. Let's see which one goes back. Okay, does anyone know what it's called if we like just change around these numbers, try to get a better result? Like changing these parameters until we get a better result on past data. It starts with a C. It's 2 words. Starts with the first letters of each word starts with a C and an F. Does anyone know? Or, I mean, or it can be like a O. Starts. Well, it's called curve. Oh shoot. I need more days. The reason. Okay, so does anyone know? Okay, so I know it's called curve fitting or overfitting because historically we know what happens in the past. I mean, it already happened. So if you keep like changing parameters and to make it do good in the past, doesn't necessarily mean it will do good in the future. Because in the future we don't know what's going to happen, but we already know what happened in the past. Okay. Okay. So does anyone know why I didn't trade? I mean, I know. Like, I'm not like I know why I didn't trade, but I'm asking. I'm gonna see if you guys know. Let's look at this code again. It's a trick question. I mean, I keep asking you guys trick questions. That is a good guess. But if the SMA is less than SMA 200, then we go short, right? And so we still actually trade. Let's look at this line. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys another hint. Like, look at line 21. Okay, the answer is that because we didn't. No, that's close. I keep. Okay, so today is January 3rd, right? And our start. Let's look at. Okay, I mean, this is a really trick question. I need to ask easier questions. Okay, so the reason is because there was not 200. So we need. So our algorithm logic only starts executing. Our trading logic only executes the SMA 200 is ready. Okay. But since October 1st to January 3rd, it's been like 3 months, which is like 90 days, right? So 90 days is not enough time. So what happens is that our indicators aren't warmed up. So this 200, this is always not ready. So how do we fix this? Well, the naive solution would just like increase the like amount of time that we go back in, so we get more sequential data. But what happens if we just want to see how our algorithm fares through a certain period of time for some reason? What we can do is we can preload some warm up our indicators with self.set warm up. Then 200. We warm up with 200 points of data. So the reason is that we didn't have enough data. We never had enough data since October 1st, and we will never have because it's only 90 days. So that means our 200 period estimate is never ready. And because of this logic, this will never get executed. And to address, okay. And to address this, what we do is we add this line, which automatically adds 200 days of warm up. And now it should be okay. And that's pretty good. I mean, this. Why? Well, the truth is, let's. Okay. It's because it never even traced. It just goes long, and because the market was so hot this past year, it just does so well. Okay. What the heck? Pretty crazy. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? So hopefully you guys get like a sense of like how I do backtesting. This is a very simple algorithm, but it's just to get us introduced into using Quantum. Okay. Do I have any more slides? Nope. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? This meeting. I'm not gonna have too much. This is just the first day. The first day back to school, so I want to keep it light. Okay, so the meeting's over. If anyone has any questions, feel free to stay and ask me any questions, but otherwise, you guys are free to leave. No questions? Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Let me stop the share. Okay, doesn't seem like anyone has any questions. I'm just gonna end the meeting. Okay, bye.